we're going to describe another form of integration, which is called virtual diary integration. Now, this keeps good control over the duplication level at the individual level, individual vehicle level. And for multimedia groups, you can simply build on other groups and still keep control of the duplication, and it avoids the homes to individuals matching as well. So it has three underlying advantages which we want to make use of. In the virtual diary creation process, instead of donating information from one respondent to another respondent, we just use the original respondent in the host survey and expand his information. We may just know his frequency of information of visiting each site. And we expand that information and make it look as if he had completed 1 week of diary, or even, as it were, he'd been on a panel for a week. So we don't match anybody, we don't take two people and put them together. We work on one person and expand the information we have about him. And we do it in such a way that the sum of all individual diary records are calibrated to match the reach levels from each site found by the panel or currency information. So the end result is that the data in the host survey is matching the data in the currency survey as if the two had been put together, but they were just expanded. It's a modelling technique. And the point is that nobody who does not claim to visit a site is allowed to have a diary. The single source duplication patterns are therefore actually undisturbed. So, we work in Sweden with Ovesto Consumer, which is, as I said, the NRS. It's conducted by TNS in Sweden. It's a self-completion 48-page unit, and it covers radio, print, TV, internet, cinema, direct mail, plus a lot of attitudinal and interest data and market data. So it's a full TTI survey. It's done by mail and it's self-completion. It's 48 pages, so it's quite a lot of information collected. And it's a good random sample without any clustering. And it has some oversampling in urban areas for local press, particularly. And it has still, in this day and age, a 45% response rate. Now, what we collect about the media is very similar in all of the media groups. And it's very simple in all of the media groups. So we take, here's a print example, and we have a frequency scale, perfectly normal frequency scale. The Swedes actually don't use recency, so there's no graded last period. They just use the frequency. The reason that they do that is that they have a lot of different issue periods, so it's very difficult to describe an issue period when it appears 6 or 11 times a year. We do the same for the internet duplication control. We do the same for radio, we do the same for television, but here's the internet one. We take the frequency, the number of days per week that they visit each site. It's a claim, it's a recall claim. And we also ask about mobile sites. So at the moment we're covering over 200 websites and also a lot of sub-sites. And the mobile sites only says 16, but that was only whenever I did this a few months ago. It's now well over 80 and it's growing all the time. There's a second set of information that we need in order to enable us to do the expansion model. Frequency is the one thing by channel, but the second thing is we need to know when people are using the internet. So we need to be able to control, when we make the model, the day-part allocations of information. And we do this by this set of information that simply asks for weekday, weekend, whether they are always, sometimes, or never visiting the internet at this time. So here's our basic structure. We have in the middle the NRS that I'm talking about, TGI. We call that the host survey. It has all the single source information about the cross-duplication of radio, television, internet, and print. We then bring the control data from the currencies. So we have on the top right, we have the television currency. On the bottom right, we have the radio currency. And then we have a panel for web and mobile. And then we have August a day, which is the daily readership of newspapers, not the frequency of producing an average issue, but a day-by-day readership of newspapers. So all of these things are then brought in to the NRS. So in the internet site, we've got the single source site duplication. We've got page views coming from the internet panel, which is 18,000, and that's tracking the PC. And then we've got a sub-panel, which is also now including apps covering the mobile browser activity. And that data is calibrated to site-centric data in terms of gross hits, gross page views. So that's bringing in the site-centric measurement as well. Now, when we integrate, we don't just look at the overall sample, but we break the NRS sample down into perhaps 20, 30 subgroups, which are predictive of the way people use media. So it will be different for radio, it will be different for internet, it will be different for television. And within each of those cells, we well, first I will tell you that the recall claims between the panel and the recall and the panel are actually in Sweden very close. In other countries, they're often not so close, but in Sweden we seem, for some reason, to get very close relationships between the panel recall levels, the panel measurement levels, and the recall claims that are in the NRS. So this is how we would create the diary. We start with the week. So we would have, let's say, 10,000 or 100,000 people claim to be viewing in the week. And then we have also our daily information because we know the frequency, so you can calculate an average day. But then when we look at the currency, we find that it's a little bit below. So we calibrate, that means we adjust. So you randomly throw some people out to bring it down. Or if it's above, then you go upwards to the next frequency group. So visiting in the last month, we choose some of those people to fill our cells so that we met with control data from the currency. We then do that at the day level, we do that at the day part level, and then at the segment level. So at every level, the answers that we get in the NRS from the modeled data set is virtually identical to the currency level. And everything is consistent. The net sum of the segments adds up to the day part, the net of the day parts adds up to the day, and then up to the week. So it's a very consistent, internally consistent data set. So how well does it match the results? Well, here's a TV example. Here's a campaign post-analysed on the TV meter system in Sweden. And the rating points for the MMS is the currency, and the rating points that we predict from the software that we have and the data set are, as you can see, at the gross TRP levels, virtually the same. At the net levels, 1+, they're virtually the same. And then also at the 5+. So we can make a very good model of behaviour that is a good predictor of what the planner's going to get. It's not an exact replica of 1 week of TV information, but it's a very good tool for a planner to predict what his reach and frequency is going to be. And that, in our view, is what the planner really needs. Looking backwards at some actual behaviour is not what he's about. He's looking forward.